Hey guys, so I'm back with one of my favorite handstand drills, using the wall. A lot of times I teach handstand drills using the wall with your belly to the wall, and whether that's the one with your belly kind of flat up against the wall to help you establish a line, or a little bit further away in an L handstand with your foot against the wall, I tend to gravitate towards the belly against the wall side. And there's nothing against back against the wall. The thing is, what tends to happen is fear takes over because fear is a big player in something like handstand and to be expected. And we have this strange fear of also hitting our head or maybe hitting our feet too hard. And the solution for a lot of people seems to be that they need to step further away from the wall. And so then they end up shooting for a straight handstand, straight up and down handstand from perhaps, I don't know, 2, even 3 feet away with their hands from the wall. And I want to say that I believe my friend Carson made a video about this the other day, but straight handstand is one of the harder postures to hold. Not that it shouldn't be worked on if that's something that you're interested in, but when you're learning to balance, finding something like an L or a tuck or a double stag is going to be a lot more accessible for a lot of people because you have the legs kind of acting as a counterbalance or essentially an accelerator and a brake. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. So again, nothing against back against the wall drills. What tends to happen though is we put our hands really far away because we have a fear of hitting our head. And then in order to get the feet to the wall, it turns into a banana back. And again, I have nothing against banana back. It's just that for a lot of people, banana back can mean loss of core integration, loss of core control, which can make it harder to balance or to progress. So, not wearing the ideal outfit for this, so sorry if my clothes kind of go over my face. Hopefully you'll still be able to hear me. But what tends to happen is we put our hands really far from the wall. We get a little bit brave finally with our kick up, and it looks something like this. And here I am, kicking up, and then I'm like, why can't I figure out this balance thing? And does my core look particularly integrated? Because it's not. I'm just sagging into my lower back lightly, and then I might kick off the wall and be like, this balance thing is really hard. So first of all, I want to tell you that you're probably not going to hit your head if you put your hands closer to the wall. Your head doesn't need to be sticking out too far into handstand in the first place. In fact, if you really stick it out a lot, that's encouraging the spine to go into more extension, which is something that we want for like scorpion or maybe some aspects of hollow back, but not really when we're learning to balance in something like an L or a straight handstand or a tuck. So the head comes out just slightly. You look past the fingertips and in the middle, mostly with your eyeballs. So even if you feel like you might hit your head here, you can kind of control what's happening in the neck, and it's probably not going to be a big deal. So I encourage you to start by kicking against the wall with the hands no further than maybe a foot from the wall. And if you're like, wow, that sounds really scary, just give it a try. You can always use a friend or a partner nearby, or maybe have a softer wall than this big cinder block wall that I'm using. But once the hands are shoulder distance and slightly turned out, and we feel like kicking, we give a few hops to get to the wall. Now notice I'm not flinging the top leg. The top leg is my nice strong antenna. We've talked about that in another one of my drills. And the bottom leg is doing the springy action. There's already one long line all along my spine through my back leg so that I'm not flinging it up there to encourage the break and the low back. Once I get up there, what I really like about this shape is twofold. There's 2 things you can do to challenge yourself. Notice I didn't bring that foot all the way to the wall because then I'd be in that straight handstand position, and I'm not so worried about that at this point in time. Instead, I want to practice one of the harder aspects for people when learning to handstand, and that aspect is this idea of using your limbs for counterbalance or using your body to control your hips and your shoulders in this small window that they're able to balance in, right? Because it's a few things that are involved here. A major player is the hands. The hands do a lot of work, especially the fingers clawing into the mat like they're trying to make a fist through the mat. they're doing so much work so that you stop you from falling over, right? And in this drill, yes, we were encouraging you essentially to overkick, right? You need to get to the wall first, so you have to kick a little harder and know that you're training your body to do that. So when you take it on the floor, your fingers better be ready to stop you from going too far. So we want to explore that today using the wall. And we also want to explore this idea of the legs being the accelerator and the brake. And the top leg, which is your nice strong antenna, that's going to be your accelerator. And your bottom leg of the L, the one that's kind of still facing away from the wall, that's going to be your brake. And both that leg and your fingers can be used to explore this idea of balance. Because, again, I see people kick up with their back to the wall and then kind of kick off the wall. And if you're close enough to the wall, like I just showed you there, you shouldn't really have to kick off the wall. You can get off the wall slowly and with control so that you can start to understand this idea of calibration or balance that comes with the legs and comes with the fingers. So there's two ways that I encourage you to practice getting off the wall once you're there in that L position. And if you're not sure that you're ready to get to that L position, you can have a friend help you there. Maybe you're doing kick-ups and they help guide that leg to the wall and they only step away when you feel comfortable. So the first way is, again, hands no further than a foot from the wall, head not sticking out completely, just a little bit. We get up to the wall. The first way to practice getting away from the wall is using this leg. And I simply ask you to drop it, drop it, drop it, drop it, continuously drop it while pushing the floor away. Notice how I just grew. Woo, I almost came off the wall there. That's what we're going for. Drop the leg until you can't maintain the leg on the wall anymore. But notice how I didn't kick off the wall. That wasn't the back leg going boom and kicking me off the wall. That was the front leg dropping, 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 dropping slowly, right? Until my foot on the wall couldn't maintain that anymore and I had to float. And maybe if I did that slow enough, I might be able to catch a millisecond of air time. So again, what does that look like? We kick up, we get up. Nice, strong, push the ground away, claw the earth with the fingertips. Push, 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 pull the navel towards the spine. We drop, drop, drop the leg. Drop, drop, drop the leg. Drop, drop, drop the leg. Oh, the back leg came off the wall. Caught some air time there before we come down. Now, you might be like, Steph, nah, my hamstrings do not let me get my leg low enough to get that top leg off the wall, because the hamstrings could be a limiting factor. I'm essentially like going into the splits there, right? So that's when the fingers can start to get involved. And I encourage you to get the fingers involved anyway, because you can let your leg drop to a comfortable level, even bend. Doesn't matter if that leg is straight or not, as long as it's active. Let it drop, and then let your fingers do the rest, because your fingers are probably the biggest player here in learning to calibrate your handstand. So, same. Hop up there, push the ground away. Start to drop the leg to a comfortable position, and maybe that's here for you, bent. Then use the fingers as you push the ground away. Keep breathing, claw the fingertips, and try to imagine that the fingers are what is pushing you to the floor. So I'm not pushing off with that top leg. My fingertips are just pushing in so much that, whoa, I hover off the wall. Nice and active legs, super active legs before I slowly come back down. And eventually that hovering period starts to get longer and longer and longer. And that's going to help you start to train your limbs to be active and your hands to work this calibration aspect, so that when you do take this to the floor in the middle of the room and start hopping and jumping, you have a little bit more idea of how to control the hips and the shoulders in space using the legs and the fingers. So I hope that's helpful. I did want to say I get a lot of questions about the mic and the headset. If you look into my story highlights, I have an FAQ section, and I put swipe up links for the headset as well. This is just a cheap headset, and then the transmitter and receiver are Rode, so those were a little bit more expensive, but not terrible. And there's a little cord that you need on Amazon for like $7 or $8 to connect it to your phone, because it doesn't automatically connect to your phone. But yeah, it's a great setup, and I really like using it. That's not sponsored. Believe me, I bought it, and it's been really useful for me. So anyway, swipe up links are in my story FAQs. And if you like this kind of tutorial about handstand, I've got online videos on authenticmovements.com, as well as ebooks on handstand and handstand pressing. So lots of good details in there. Thanks for joining me today.